Hello, I'm your host, 12-inch Richard, coming to you from an undisclosed location, somewhere beyond the solonographic longitude and latitude of plus 90 degrees north and negative 90 degrees south, and bringing to you news and information you may be able to find somewhere else, but have decided to get from me. When I first read the article, Republicans are racist? No, it's just all a big coincidence, which can be found in its entirety at the address appearing on your screen now. I thought to myself, this has got to be from The Onion, you know, the news satire organization. So I had a decent laugh. Not a huge guffaw, but more than a couple of chuckles. Then I looked at the writer's byline, and lo and behold, it was written by Michael Tomasky, a liberal American columnist, journalist, and author. He's the editor-in-chief of Democracy, a special correspondent for Newsweek and the Daily Beast, a contributing editor for the American Prospect, and a contributor to the New York Review of Books. In other words, this is a guy you'd expect to know a thing or two about impartial reporting. But since this was an opinion piece, and everyone's got an opinion, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I've got my opinion, and I'm going to give it now in as close an approximation to the writing style of Mr. Tomasky as I can. Please understand that I realize Mr. Tomasky has a pedigree longer than a yardstick, and that I'm simply a semi-disembodied talking head with only an opinion, a computer-simulated voice, and the facts on my side. With that, I'll begin. Democrats are racist? No, it's just a big coincidence. Come on, fellow conservatives, calm down. I guess maybe it's fair to call Donald Sterling a racist. The commands to his mistress to remove all black people from your Instagram and don't bring black people to my games business put it over the top. And stating that black Jews are worth 50% less than white Jews, well, now come on. Everyone can have their opinion, right? Even the NAACP, the organization that was set to give Sterling a Lifetime Achievement Award in the month of May, threw in the towel on April 27th with its interim president, Lorraine Miller, stating, quote, "He is not receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from the NAACP," end quote. And Earl Hutchison, president of the Los Angeles Urban Policy Roundtable, and a coalition of civil rights leaders demanded that Sterling apologize for, quote, "blatantly racist remarks he reportedly made about African Americans," end quote. And Hutchison admitting that, quote, "Sterling's racist digs at African Americans is no surprise," end quote. Okay, so Sterling's a racist. It's fine to point it out. But bring up the fact that while he's a registered Republican, but has only ever given money to Democrats, well, that's where I draw the line, friends. I mean, come on, that's just a coincidence. A total, universal coincidence. So, like they say, if it acts like a Democrat, speaks like a Democrat, gives money to Democrats, well then, it's a Republican. But again, I'm certain that this is just a coincidence. Just like it's a coincidence that one black rapper, a Lupe Fiasco, in 2013 was paid $80,000 to perform at Obama's inauguration party and then was kicked off stage for saying things that were offensive to President Obama. Of course, who would have ever expected a man who'd previously called President Obama a terrorist to say anything negative about the man he was paid to perform for? I know. It's just a coincidence that this same rapper in Rolling Stone magazine on June the 9th, 2011, is quoted as saying, quote, "To me, the biggest terrorist is Obama in the United States of America. I'm trying to fight the terrorism that's causing the other forms of terrorism. You know, the root cause of terrorists is the stuff the United States government allows to happen. The foreign policies that we have in place in different countries that inspire people to become terrorists," end quote. I mean, seriously, it could have easily happened that at the Republican Party, a person would have been paid $80,000 to get up on stage and trounce upon the name and the image of the person who is being inaugurated. Well, okay, maybe not, but still, it's a coincidence. Just like it's a coincidence that Harry Reid, who happens to be a Democrat, which is much worse than having someone from an opposing party say something negative about you, apologized for saying of then Senator Barack Obama that the country was ready to embrace a black presidential candidate, especially one such as Obama, a light-skinned African-American with no Negro dialect, unless he wanted to have one. Complete and utter accident of fate. Just like when President Bill Clinton said of Obama, quote, "A few years ago, this guy would have been carrying our bags," end quote. As for the silly matter of President Obama's voter enrollment program, such as the ones carried out in Alabama, where 4 counties actually had more registered voters than people who are voting age, or Colorado that had 10 counties with more registered voters than people who are voting age, or in North Carolina, where at least 81 dead people have been voting in elections for the last 10 years, or the State Board of Elections that found 765 instances where people in one state voted in other states in the 2012 election. But again, this is sheer coincidence that the Democrats state that voter fraud is low. Just like it's a coincidence that Barney Frank, a member of the House of Representatives, and Jim Hightower, an elected commissioner of the Texas Department of Agriculture, both insulted the intelligence of George W. Bush and just happened to be Democrats. Frank said of Bush, quote, "People might cite George Bush as proof that you can be totally impervious to the effects of Harvard and Yale education." End quote. Hightower said of Bush, quote, "If ignorance ever goes to $40 a barrel, I want drilling rights on George Bush's head." End quote. But again, the fact that they were both Democrats is complete and utter coincidence. Oh, and here are a few more coincidences via video clips.
Gloria Placco is apologizing for what she calls a slip of the tongue.
I'm sorry to my other 5 board members, and I'm entirely sorry to this entire community.
Placco was recorded calling Township Supervisor Dwayne Parker the N-word. Placco says that doesn't make her racist.
I've eaten Thanksgiving dinner with black friends at their house.
We're going to keep running special meetings 2 or 3 times a month, and let's go back to having 2 regular meetings.
Can I ask one question?
Mm-hmm.
Are you and Mr. Parker able to talk to each other?
I don't think Mr. Parker wants to talk to me, because otherwise, if he wanted to talk to me, he'd pick up the phone and find out how I feel about some of this stuff.
Let me rephrase. Would you be willing to sit down to talk to him?
Well, now that's an entirely different...
I know. That's why I asked. I'll rephrase the question.
Well, because he's just rubbing me the wrong way. He is just doing whatever he can. You know what I think of Mr. Parker right now, and I don't. You're not even going to like this. He's just an arrogant nigger. And I'm sorry to say it that way, but that's the way I see Dwayne Parker right now.
Why would you say that?
Because that's what he's trying. That's what he's proving to be.
But that.
He's just arrogant. He
but
just thinks,
I disagree with that terminology. You could have said
I know you do. I knew you would.
That's offensive.
Pregnancy and dump it on the taxpayer. You understand? Don't put it on the taxpayer, okay? I don't wish to pay for the baby with my money. Okay, you get it?
You would rather profit off of those
No,
children?
I'm not profiting. I, as a taxpayer, do not wish to pay for those babies to be born and brought up and kill those people in Colorado. Go ahead and pay for that. Let me see you adopt one of those babies. These black babies, okay?
If
you tell us, we'll adopt them.
Yeah, go ahead. Adopt those babies, okay? Take them off the taxpayers' money, okay?
Give us a chance to adopt them.
You know, the first time I was faced with having to help a white farmer save his farm, he took a long time talking, but he was trying to show me he was superior to me. I knew what he was doing, but he had to come to me for help. What he didn't know, while he was taking all that time trying to show me
David, yes. You want to be the only nigga on television, the only nigga in the newspaper, the only nigga can talk. Don't cover them, don't talk to them, because you got the only nigga problem. Because you know if a black man stood up next to you, they would see you for the whore that you really are. We're the best chicken fries in the universe. But we don't go buy some Colonel Sanders chicken. Then the Chinamen come in and throw some hot grease in the tub and dip it down, and you stand there and buy that. Koreans sell us watermelon. We need watermelon all our lives. But they gonna come cut it up, put it in a bucket with a rubber band around it. And we gonna buy it like it's something we didn't know what it was.
White interloper, I said I was wrong. Cracker, though I think cracker is a certain personification of a certain type of person down south, just like redneck. I mean, you know, some people misinterpret cracker meaning all whites is not true, but the confusion means you shouldn't use it. I mean, sometimes being flippant, you say things you shouldn't say because it gets in the way of your message and people don't really understand what you're saying.
White folks was in the cave when we had built empires. We learned to admire them, but they knew to admire us. We built pyramids before Donald Trump ever knew what architecture was. We taught philosophy and astrology and mathematics before Socrates and them Greek homos ever got around.
A political analyst on MSNBC arguing Republicans are using hateful rhetoric on the immigration issue was forced to apologize for using what many consider a racial slur. Tuesday, Karen Finney, a former Democratic National Committee communications director, said this, talking about the GOP.
Well, other thing that these guys know is that those, crazy crackers on the right, like if they start with their very hateful language, that is going to kill them in the same way that they learned at their little retreat that let's not talk about rape.
Some Republicans calling on Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid to resign after questionable comments Reid made about President Obama were disclosed in a bombshell new book. CBS News congressional correspondent Nancy Cordes has the latest. Good morning, Nancy.
Good morning, Maggie. That's right. Republican leaders argue there's a double standard going on here, that if any of them had uttered the racial remark now attributed to Harry Reid, Democrats would be calling for their heads.
The book quotes Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid as saying in 2008 that then-Senator Obama had a real shot at the White House because he was a light-skinned African-American, quote, with no Negro dialect unless he wanted to have one. After the quote was made public Saturday, Leader Reid apologized to a number of black leaders, including the president, who released a statement saying, quote, I accepted Harry's apology without question. The book is closed.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, or maybe it's because I'm some kind of white supremacy-loving, nigga-hating, great homo, crazy-ass cracker, which, by the way, I'm not, but there definitely seems to be a double standard here. Now, what about those rancidly racist posters, T-shirts, and signs that many wore and held at NAACP and other rallies against George W. Bush? They're just a coincidence, too. I mean, NAACP people might not be Democrats, strictly speaking, and it's totally unfair to assume that. Okay, NAACP party candidates run in Democrat primaries, not Republican ones, and the NAACP's Black Congressional Caucus in the House included only one Republican, Colonel Allen West, whose defeat by a Democrat challenger was greeted with glee by the members of the Black Congressional Caucus. But still, guilt by association. Like when President Clinton's brother Roger Clinton, a registered Democrat who was under surveillance for dealing cocaine in 1984, stated, quote, some junior high nigger kicked Steve's ass while he was trying to help his brothers out. Junior high or sophomore in high school, whatever it was, Steve had the nigger down. However it was Steve's fault. He had the nigger down, he let him up. The nigger blindsided him. End quote. Donald Sterling, to his credit, has a broad progressive streak and has helped inner-city children, blacks and all. But please, let's not suggest that liberal-leaning progressive Democrats might be a little racist too. I mean, again, what's the evidence for such a statement? What? The fact that a white Michigan Democrat called a black Michigan Democrat an arrogant nigger? If I were you, I would be careful about drawing any inferences from that. It was a long time ago, way back in April of 2013. And a proclamation like the one used by Hillary Clinton to degrade Paul Frey when she said, "You fucking Jew bastard." Well, admit it, it is open to ambiguity. It can be interpreted in any number of different ways. Really, stop taking these little things out of context and acting like they constitute a pattern. They just don't, okay? Oh, and by the way, anyone who thinks that the Democrat and Republican parties flipped at some point in history simply needs to check their facts. So really, go after Sterling all you want. He's disgusting, just like Michael Jordan has said. But the idea that he represents anything that others of similar circumstance might have views anything like his on racial matters, shame on you. That he's an enrolled Republican who has only ever given money to Democrats and supported Democrat causes is again just a coincidence. Everything, the signs, the emails, the jokes, the racial slurs, they're all just coincidences. Got it? Okay, people in internet land, Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, anarchists, and others of all persuasions, allow me to let you in on a little secret. People from every walk of life are racist. This does not mean that everyone from all walks of life are racists. Rather, it means that if you look, you can find someone, somewhere, often many people in many places, who are bigots. Period. End of story. Personally, I think that anyone, even people with pedigrees as long and illustrious as Tomasky's, and maybe especially people with such pedigrees, should, to quote the Reverend Jesse Jackson, have their nuts cut off, or in the case of women, have their ovaries cut out. You get my drift. These people, from any side of the aisle, discredit journalism, even if it is an opinion piece. So, the next time you read your favorite columnist, and are salivating over something they've said concerning a class of people, a piece of technology, or anything else, remember to check the other side out as well. Mr. Tomasky, a word of advice to you and to all my listeners. With the advent of the internet, it's really hard to keep those pesky little things called facts hidden for long. And as a parting gift, just for listening to me, here are a few more of those racist comments brought to you by your friendly neighborhood liberals. Until next time, thanks for joining me, 12-inch Richard, for another dose of insane reality checks, ramblings that might make a doctor think I'm insane, and more truth than the average above-intelligent person would ever want to know.